Now, 5 headline templates that are proven to boost your views, your listenership, if it's audio, and readership. So there's viewing, there's listening, and there's also reading. In the old days, it only used to be readership. So guaranteeing readership, if you get a letter in the mail, some people call it junk mail, but it's been happening for over 150 years. It keeps coming in, and they want you to read whatever marketing communication they have, because without reading it, then there's no likelihood that you're going to buy it. So how do you guarantee viewership? How do you guarantee readership? How do you guarantee listenership? How do you get them to keep going? Well, let's say if you do a Facebook Live, you can start with a question. For example, are you spending too much money and not making enough profit on your Facebook advertising? Okay, so let's say you started your Facebook Live with what I just said, with that question. Well, if the answer is yes, they're going to keep watching. If the answer is no, they're not going to watch. So what you want to do with Facebook, in this case, is get people to unmute, because that's the default. Mark Zuckerberg and his team have decided that mute is the default for a Facebook Live when you're watching it. Hopefully you're listening to me right now, because I could still be on mute. And so that's why when I start a show for every Friday, which is always at marketingonline.com/Friday Live, it's a revolving URL. Every time I have a show, I start with a card that says, stand by. This Facebook Live starts in, now that's a headline, and then I do a countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, why do I do a countdown? Because there's more tension than doing a count up versus 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then I give a card that shows people to turn up the volume, because if they're not listening, they being you, then they're not going to be interested. And so starting a show that way versus diving in on Facebook Live, anyway, is the fastest and easiest way to get attention. And then the final card says, welcome to Facebook Fridays Live. And whether you're watching live or the recording, then you know, hey, Facebook Fridays, well, then Alex Mandossian has a Facebook Live every Friday at 12 noon Pacific, 3 p.m. East Coast time. Those sequence of cards that I just demonstrated, that ends up becoming a headline, a sequence of headlines to get people to listen, again, getting attention for listenership. Now, viewership is one thing, but if I'm on mute, then I'm not really getting my point across until you can hear me. Now, I know this is common sense, but these are little things I want you to think about if you're serious about building your business and profitable prospecting. So here is a template, and a template is where most of the words are already written, but you just fill in the topic. In this case, the template is the most important, and then you put in your topic, news in, and then the time frame. So for example, the most important news about the Bible in the last 340 years, okay? So the topic would be the Bible. If people aren't interested in the Bible, then they would not be listening, watching, or reading, right? So you're pre-qualifying. And then the time is 340 years. Now, is that interesting? Well, it could be for you to read the next sentence, but this is a template. The most important, you put the topic and then news in the time frame. The most important breakthrough in digital marketing in the past 23 years. So there's the template, and I'm just putting in the topic and the time frame. So that's one template. Here's another one. Have, and then the result that you want, you can be proud of, okay? Have a trained dog you can be proud of. Have children you can be proud of. Have a complexion that you can be proud of. Those are all different products and offers. I'm making them up as I'm speaking, but that's the template that you can go back to again and again. So have, you want the result, clear skin, you can be proud of. Have a full head of hair, you can be proud of, all right? Depending on whatever product or service you're offering. Here's another template, number 3. Why now is the right time to, and then put in the result. Why now is the right time to learn how to write headlines? Okay, that's the result. Why now is the right time to think about your finances? Why now is the right time to think about having children? Why now is the right time to have a cat? So that's the template, and you can change that template depending on your topic and whatever business you're in. The fourth template, and there are many, many templates. I'm going to give you access to 27 of them. I'm covering 5 right now. And it's almost as if I am teasing you so that you get all 27. They're free, and I'll give you the special URL, and you can get it by phone as well if you have a mobile phone in North America. But I'll give you the URL at the end of this masterclass. Here's template number 4, the secret to, and then the activity in X easy steps. Okay, what does that mean? How do you utilize this template? The secret to buying silver in 5 easy steps. The secret to a gourmet meal, or cooking a gourmet meal, that's the activity, in 3 easy steps. The secret to writing world-class headlines in 5 easy steps. I'm showing you 5 templates that could be a headline for this masterclass. And here's the 5th template. Here's a brand new breakthrough in, and then the topic. Here's a brand new breakthrough in personal finances. Here's a brand new breakthrough in digital marketing. Here's a brand new breakthrough in weight loss. So the topic is what you put in, and the template is what saves you lots of time. These are proven. So the key point is templates of any type, whether it's a headline template or it's a productivity template, they save you time and money. Now, saving money is one thing, but if you're like me, you've lost money over the years. You can always make money back. I have, but losing time is even more valuable. When people are broke and I say, and I ask them, what's more important to you? You know, time or money? And they'll say money, because that's what they're going after, because they're broke or bankrupt. But once people have money, if you ask any millionaire or billionaire, what's the most valuable thing that you have? The answer is time. Why? Because you can't get time back. You got 86,400 seconds a day. You have 1,440 minutes in a day. You have 52 weeks in a year. You have 168 hours per week. You can never get it back. And we all have the same amount of time. And time, of course, is the earth going around the sun, and that's 1 year, right? And then we have a leap year every 4 years, right? So like 365 days, that's a year, and everyone seems to have a finite amount of time. Regardless of your spiritual persuasion, time is more valuable than money when you're looking at making a difference here on earth. And when it comes to writing headlines and capturing attention, you want to save time so that you can test and find which headlines are working and which are not. Some headlines have worked for over 40 years. There was a headline written by a copywriter that worked for 40 years. They never changed it. Do you make these mistakes in English? Now, the headline originally was, do you make mistakes in English? That headline didn't work. The moment they put in the word these, do you make these mistakes in English? What does the word these or this, what does that do to your psychology? You're looking down and you're looking at the ad. If you're reading it, in this case, it was a written ad. It was a magazine ad, full page magazine ad. And it was an English course. And these mistakes were examples of mistakes that people make. And so to avoid embarrassment, to look smarter, they want to know how to speak better English, if that's the market that you're in. If English is a second language, I have over 50% of my student body comes from outside of North America, so English is their second language. Do you make these mistakes in English is a headline that works, because the word these gets the reader, the viewer, the listener, to continue to view, read, and listen, because the word these is a headline word that's capturing attention, and they're curious about what these mistakes are. So one word can change the entire trajectory of a business. In this case, it was an English course, a course on how to speak better and write better English. Do you make these mistakes in English? Now that's a template. Do you make these mistakes in Spanish? Do you make these mistakes in your business? Do you make these mistakes with parenting? The word these will get people to read, listen, and view further. Is that making sense? I hope so, because one word can make all the difference in the world. Now, David Ogilvy, who's one of my idols. I never met the man, but he was a great ad man on Madison Avenue in New York City. And many years ago, he said, when you've written your headline, then that is making up, it's allowing you to spend 80 cents of every dollar on your ad, right? So once you've written your headline, you're spending 80 cents out of your dollar, meaning the headline is worth 80% of whatever marketing communication you have. I think that's low. I think it's over 90%. Because if you look at the way people read magazines, just flipping pages, if you're on an airplane or you see people on a park bench and they're just flipping through the pages of a magazine, if you're advertising in a magazine, is it any wonder that people actually buy stuff? So the headline is what is going to capture attention, like in a newspaper, right? Newspapers have headlines. You probably see them all the time. And that's what gets you to continue to read. The goal of the headline is consumption, consuming the marketing communication so that you can learn more and then ultimately become a buyer. That's profitable prospecting. Now, the translation of David Ogilvy's quote, spending 80 cents on every dollar is the headline, is a headline is five times as important as the rest of your marketing communication. So if you're going to focus on communicating an offer to sell your product or service, or if it's for your own consulting, then whatever headlines you use, whether spoken or written or on video, those headlines are five times as important. If you're spending 80 cents on the dollar, right? They're five times as important as the rest of the ad. Most people spend most of the time writing the ad, but yet that's 20% of the decision if you believe in what David Ogilvy said. I do, and I think his number is low. I think the headline is worth over 90% of the intention of the marketing communication. Now, the purpose of any headline is to keep viewing, listening, or reading. Now, I've been saying this again and again, and even though I say it, many people have creative amnesia and forget. So the purpose of the headline is not to sell your offer. It's not to sell your services. The purpose of the headline is to get people to continue to read or to view or to listen, depending on what format the advertisement is in. It could be a free advertisement. It could be a podcast. They're listening in most cases. But the purpose of it is to continue to consume. If you're watching right now on video, if you're reading, if you're listening, then I've maintained and suspended your attention to continue to learn more and more about headlines. And so that means it's working. For those people who have left, well, this is irrelevant to them. They either think they know how to do it, which they probably do. I'm not the best headline writer in the world, but I'm better than most. And if they're not watching, they're not here, I'm not speaking to them. I'm glad that they've gone because I've said something that they know it's not relevant to them, or at least they think it's not relevant to them. It may not be. But if you're watching or listening or reading, that means what I've said has interested you and you want to continue to watch, listen, or read. Does that make sense? You're here, so what I'm saying is working for you. Now, the big mistake people make is they think the headline should be global. It should be appealing to everyone. That's exactly the worst way to write a headline. That's a way not to be a profitable prospecting business owner or entrepreneur. Because if you're everything to everyone, then you're nothing to no one. The goal of the headline is to pre-qualify people who are ideal buyers and disqualify non-ideal buyers.